Is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam. Hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope you guys have had a great Wednesday. Hope you guys are ready for week 13 of the 2022 fantasy football season coming up quickly. In today's live stream, we're hopping into my week 13 rankings for the wide receiver position. So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk some fantasy football. We are going to go through my rankings for the receiver position on the week. Excuse my awful setup here, and sorry for the weird intro here. I'm trying to get like 1,000 things set up while I am not in my normal setup on vacation at the beach. So nonetheless, tonight's stream, here's the plan. Week 13 fantasy Q&A, but before we get into that, week 13 wide receiver rankings. So yeah, we're kind of winging it this week. We've had some really fun streams this week so far, so I appreciate you guys so much, man. I appreciate you guys sticking it out with me while I'm on vacation, while I'm at the beach. And I don't have my PC with me, so we're just kind of doing what we can this week for you guys. But I just appreciate you guys so much. And man, we hit 3,000 subscribers today. That's phenomenal, man. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, thank you guys. It's crazy. It's only our second season doing this, and you guys have already helped us reach a major milestone. So thank you guys so much. Whether you guys have been here since the first day of the channel, whether you guys were one of the first 100 subscribers, or whether you guys subscribed yesterday, thank you guys so much for being part of this community. And like I said, thanks again for sticking out things while I am streaming in an awful setup at the beach and everything this week. I really do appreciate you guys that have been coming out to the streams. And I know we haven't had our normal format. Usually every week I have my rankings or starts and sits uploaded for you guys. And then we just do our regular fantasy Q&A streams every night. So I know it's been a little bit different this week, and I know the quality has been not the best. So just want to say thank you guys for everything, man. All the support that you guys give us, and I just appreciate you guys, man. So hit that like button on the way in, man. Hit that subscribe button, of course, if you are new to the channel, and hop in the live chat, man. Let me know what you guys need. Right, start, sits, ads, drops, whatever it may be. Let me know, guys. I'm happy to help you guys out, but do keep in mind, like I said, we're going to start today's stream with my wide receiver rankings for the week. So let's hop right into that, man. And let's have a great stream tonight, man. Last night's stream was a ton of fun. So let's hop right into things, man. All right. Week 13, wide receiver rankings. What do we got? Number one overall, I've got Stefon Diggs. Okay, there are some really good top-tier receivers with really favorable matchups. So this top 10 was actually kind of difficult to put together, but I decided to just stick with the top tier guys overall at the respective position of the wide receiver position, regardless of the matchup. So Diggs does draw a tough matchup against the New England Patriots here in week 13, but I don't really care. I really don't. I think Diggs is still a lock for double digits no matter what. Is his upside a little bit capped? Sure. But he's the wide receiver one on the season so far, and I'm sticking with Stefon Diggs as my wide receiver one as we approach the week. The Bills and the Patriots have not played each other yet this season, so this is a really important game for both of these teams. This is easily probably the most competitive division in all of football right now. Both of these teams are going to lay it all out there. It is worth noting that this game is in New England. So once again, I could see a lower ceiling for Stefon Diggs on the week, but ultimately I'm putting Diggs number one. I don't care. Moving on to number two, I've got JJ. Justin Jefferson also draws a tough matchup against the New York Jets, against Sauce Gardner and company, but he is your wide receiver 2 on the season so far. He only has 2 games this year without double digits in terms of a fantasy stat line, and I think that Justin Jefferson, regardless of matchup, similar to Stefon Diggs, I just don't care. Like, these guys have been balling all season long, and I keep forgetting to say this at the beginning of these streams and or videos. These rankings are purely for week 13. Okay, these are not rest of season rankings. These are not overall rankings at the wide receiver position. These rankings are purely for week 13. So with that in mind, there are a couple guys who are ahead of other receivers based on their matchup, right? But when it came to like I said, the top tier guys, Diggs and JJ, I've got them number 1 and number 2. So JJ 29.3 fantasy points in week 12 against the New England Patriots, which is worth noting because we just talked about Stephon Diggs being in a tough matchup against the Patriots, who have played very well on the season against the position. But at the end of the day, JJ just balled out against him. I don't see why Diggs can't. So JJ, 11 targets last week, 9 receptions, 139 receiving yards, and a touchdown. When we look at what Diggs did on Thanksgiving Day, he had a very good game as well. 21.7 fantasy points, 15 targets, 8 receptions, 77 receiving yards, and a touchdown. So both of these receivers, big games in the last week. JJ balled out against the Patriots. I don't see why Diggs can't. And JJ gets another tough matchup this weekend, but frankly, I don't care. They're my number 1, number 2. All right, moving right along, we got Devontae Adams, who comes in as your wide receiver 4 so far on the season. I mean, all things considered, a down week for Adams last week against the Seattle Seahawks with 14.4 fantasy points, but still got you double digits. 11 targets, 7 receptions, 74 receiving yards, and he gets the Chargers this week. An important game for both of these teams. Okay, this is, at the end of the day, the Raiders are continuing to fight with whatever life they've got left. They've won 2 in a row to stay in the playoff picture ultimately, right? And on the other hand, you've got the Chargers, who are continuing to fight to keep a playoff spot. So actually, I believe they're in the hunt. So it's an important game in this division for both these teams, right? So I think it's a good competitive matchup, and I think that Adams has another good day as we approach the week. He's had an absolutely monster year. All right, next up on the list at number 4 overall, I've got Tyreek Hill, who kind of slid back a couple spots. But, I mean, you could easily argue Tyreek could be higher than any other player on this list. But he does draw a bit of a steep matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. Last week against Houston, Hill had exactly 15 points in PPR scoring formats, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 85 receiving yards for Tyreek Hill last week. He gets the Niners this week. It's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be a good game, too. I like both these teams a lot right now. I think they are very well-rounded teams. But, listen, like I said, Hill could easily finish in front of Diggs, JJ, or Adams. But ultimately, just due to the matchup, I've got him a little bit lower. But I would not doubt Tyreek Hill coming off of another solid performance. All right, number 5 overall. I don't want to say might surprise you, but I guess could surprise you. I mean, Jamar Chase isn't good to go for the week, right? So we know Chase hasn't played since week 7 against the Falcons when he had 33 fantasy points, and the week before that he had 32.2 fantasy points, right? But that's why he makes the list. That's why he's number 5, because if Chase is cleared, if he is good to go, if Jamar Chase does play in this matchup against the Chiefs, there's a very high ceiling involved for Jamar Chase. So Chase still makes the list just with the potential that he's good to go. I mean, this Chiefs-Bengals game is one that we absolutely want to, from all angles be exploiting in terms of our fantasy rosters, right? Like, we want players in this matchup because it's going to be a good offensive matchup on both sides. All right, A.J. Brown is number 6 overall. He's pretty high on the list. In the last 3 weeks, his stat lines read, or his fantasy performances read as 1.79 and 12.6. Not the best, right? But this Tennessee Titans secondary is god awful. And this is a revenge game. This is A.J. Brown's former team. I just think he's going to have a good week, man. I think he's due for a big game. I think it's a good matchup. I think it's a good game script. I think it could get a little personal. I think A.J. Brown is going to want to put it all out there. So like I said, 12.6 points against the Packers this past week. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 46 receiving yards, and a touchdown. I think he comes up big in this game. I think he performs very well against the Titans here in week 13. So he comes in as your wide receiver 9 so far in the season. I've got him a little bit higher. All right. Amon-Ra St. Brown. What a monster. I mean, what a great football player, okay? Had him a little bit further back on last week's list and got a lot. I got a lot of criticism for that, and all he did was had his second best fantasy performance of the season last week against Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving Day. 27.9 fantasy points, 10 targets, 9 receptions, 122 receiving yards, and a touchdown. So that was just his fourth touchdown on the year, but he gets the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. It's another good matchup for St. Brown. He is a superstar, man, and he's your wide receiver 11 so far on the season, and he's basically missed 2 games. So he's playing great football. He's in sync with Jared Goff. It's a good matchup. This game could get a little bit ugly, and that leads us basically into our wide receiver 8 on today's list, who is Christian Kirk of the Jacksonville Jaguars in that same matchup against the Lions. Now, there's definitely an argument that some defense shows up here, but I just think this is going to be a game where the defense goes out the window, to be frank. And we talked about St. Brown being our wide receiver 11 on the season. Christian Kirk is our wide receiver 10 on the season, coming off of a performance that was not very good, right? I expected more out of Christian Kirk against the Ravens last week, but 8.1 fantasy points, 9 targets, 4 receptions, 46 receiving yards. So at the end of the day, coming off of his previous 2 performances where he had 21.6 in week 9 and 31.5 in week 10. He was on bye week in week 11. I really expected more out of him. Nonetheless, he should be able to bounce back against the Detroit Lions this week. I don't want to sleep on the Lions defense. He's been playing better the past month or so, but that's not necessarily the secondary. Plus, Christian Kirk lining up out of the slot should get a lot better opportunities potentially. And I mean, hey, Zay Jones is playing very well right now. So then the day, I like that matchup. So Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and T. Higgins coming as our wide receivers 8 and 9 for week 13. All right, we talked about Jamar Chase and the opportunities he should have against the Chiefs this week. Well, if Jamar Chase is not good to go, or if Jamar Chase is good to go, I still really like T. Higgins this week. Another good, once again, a good game script, good offensive shootout is what I expect between the Chiefs and the Bengals this week. So Higgins has had 23.8 or more fantasy points in his last 2 games. He's had double digits every game he has played in this year, except for week 1. I'm not going to count week 5 where he shouldn't have been considered healthy. He was not healthy. He was just a pure decoy. That was just a mess. But nonetheless, he's played very, very well this year. Your wide receiver 12. Listen, yes, the volume should be better if Chase is not out there. But even if Chase is out there, there's plenty of targets to go around from Joe Burrow. All right, number 10 overall, we've got Jalen Waddle. You could argue Waddle should be higher on this list, and I have no problem with that. Waddle could be he could come in as your wide receiver 5 for all I care. He's played phenomenal this season. He is your wide receiver 6 so far on the year. 13.5 fantasy points against Houston last week, 10 targets, 5 receptions, 85 receiving yards. He's just been incredibly consistent this season, especially when Tua has been healthy and starting. It's a tough matchup, so I got him a little bit further back than guys like Higgins, Kirk, St. Brown, and A.J. Brown, who all have really, really good matchups this weekend. But I'm never going to be surprised if Jalen Waddle finishes with 20-plus fantasy points. He's having a great year. All right, let's move right along to receivers 11 through 20. Appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat, man. I will be getting into the chat and running some live fantasy Q&A as soon as we get through the receivers here. So, all right, CeeDee Lamb, number 11 for me. Number 11 on the week. So I think Lamb's going to have a good week. I mean, he comes in as your wide receiver 7. But the reason he's a little bit further back, similar to Jalen Waddle, who we just talked about, right, is CeeDee Lamb gets a tough matchup. The Colts have played very well against the wide receiver position. I know that Deontay Johnson and George Pickens are coming off of pretty good games, but ultimately on the season, the Colts have played really well against the position. So CeeDee Lamb is your wide receiver 7 so far on the year. He had a great day on Thanksgiving against the Giants, 17.7 fantasy points, 11 targets, 6 receptions, 106 receiving yards. Stephon Gilmore should be on Lamb for a majority of this game, if not the entire game. Don't get me wrong, good receivers can play very, very well against good corners. So I still really like CeeDee Lamb this week, but he's just a little bit further back due to the matchup. But similar to Waddle, I won't be surprised if Lamb finishes in front of any of the guys I have in front of him on the week. All right, number 12 overall, I've got Tyler Lockett. He comes in as your wide receiver 13 on the year. Gets the Rams this week, but I think that Jalen Ramsey will primarily be on DK Metcalf, who I've got number 13 overall. But looking at, with that being said, the Rams secondary has not played well this year as a unit. So Lockett last week against the Raiders, 15.8 fantasy points, 7 targets, just 3 receptions, but made the most out of them, 68 receiving yards, and a touchdown for Lockett last week. I expect Lockett to have another solid performance against the Rams this week. Okay, we just mentioned DK Metcalf, who I've got as number 13. He comes in as your wide receiver 18 so far on the season. He had his second best fantasy performance of the season last week against the Raiders. 20 fantasy points in full PPR, 15 targets, 11 receptions, 90 receiving yards. Like I said, Ramsey will probably focus most of his attention on DK Metcalf, but I'm not worried about it. I think Metcalf, due to sheer volume, is going to have a good day. This is an important game for the Seahawks trying to win this division, and they have a very good shot to do so. They have not played the Rams so far this year. They play them again in week 18, so this is a big matchup for both of these teams. The Rams look like a complete mess. Aaron Donald is banged up. Matthew Stafford's not going to play. We know Cooper Kupp's not out there, so it's like, I don't know what this Rams team has in the tank, but you never know. Sean McVay is still a great coach, so you never know, but I really think that both of these Seahawks receivers are going to have very, very good days overall. All right, Amari Cooper comes in as your wide receiver 8 so far on the season. He's playing fantastic. He's been extremely consistent. Had a couple bad performances in away games. This is an away game, but I'm not worried about him. He gets the Houston Texans. They have played well against the receiver position on the year from a fantasy perspective. We get the change at quarterback. We get Deshaun Watson out there. I personally think the Browns are going to run the football a lot in this game, but that doesn't mean that Cooper isn't going to see a good amount of volume. But we knew exactly what to expect with Jacoby Brissett at the quarterback position and Amari Cooper on the field. We don't exactly know what to expect and what the chemistry looks like between him and Deshaun Watson, but I'm not necessarily worried about it. I still think he's going to have a good game. I still think he's going to be fine on the season. But we had to kind of consider these things. It's not like we're going from the Deshaun Watson that we knew and have seen play in recent years, right? Like, he hasn't played in almost 2 years. And I think that the Browns, there's going to be a heated matchup, man. I've been saying this all week. I think the Browns are going to run the football a lot because the Texans cannot defend the run. They're going to do everything they can to win this football game. They're going to play strong defense against a poor Texans offense. I still like Cooper this week, but I'm just saying, it's going to be a little bit different. It could be a very good different. Could be about the same. It could be worse. We don't really know what to expect. All right, number 15 overall might surprise you. I've got George Pickens super high this week. Okay, I want to give some props to George Pickens. So I put him ahead of some other really big names out there. And I put him ahead of Deontay Johnson as well. And on the season so far, Deontay Johnson is your wide receiver 40. Pickens is your wide receiver 41. And I think Deontay Johnson is a very good start going up against the Atlanta Falcons this week. So I just want to put that out there, right? I still like Johnson. But I don't see a very high ceiling for Johnson. I think Pickens brings that ceiling. And on top of that, like, the Pickett to Pickens chemistry is for real. Like, these two guys just are on the same page. Pickens in his last 3 matchups has 10 or more fantasy points with a ceiling of 18.3 fantasy points. Gave us a goose egg in week 8, but in week 7 he also had 18.1 fantasy points. Just 5.8 in week 6, but then in weeks 4 and 5 he had 14.3 and 16.2. So, like, he's been very, very good from a PPR standpoint, and this is just a beautiful matchup against the Falcons, right? AJ Terrell is healthy, and that showed last week against the Washington Commanders. So, like, we can't just, completely X out the Falcons secondary, but I think that Deontay Johnson gets the pressure from AJ Terrell, and Pickens should just be able to run loose out there. So I think George Pickens is going to have a great, great week. So Pickens comes in as my wide receiver 15. All right, moving right along, wide receiver 16, I've got Brandon Ayuk. He comes in as your wide receiver 17 on the season. Since week 6 of the season, he has had 11.5 or more fantasy points with a ceiling of 28.3 fantasy points. In week 12, 11.5 fantasy points, 8 targets, 5 receptions, 65 receiving yards. So I continue to like Brandon Ayuk on a weekly basis as a wide receiver 2 or a flex. They get the Niners get the Dolphins this week. I've got Debo right ahead of him as a wide receiver 17. So Debo, is still dealing with a quad issue coming off of a hamstring injury. So I'm a little bit less confident in Debo Samuel, but it's a good offensive game script between the Niners and the Dolphins. You got a former coach now with the Dolphins and everything. It's going to be a fun game, man. So both these teams, like I said earlier in the stream, I think are very well-rounded, good football teams. So I think Ayuk and Debo both have a chance for a very good day, but Ayuk feels a lot safer, especially with the injuries to Debo. All right, Monday Night Football. We got the Saints and the Bucks, right? I like Chris Godwin here. He's my wide receiver 18 on the season or on the week. I had Godwin a little bit low last week, and people were upset about that one too. I like Godwin a lot right now, man. I do. Just super, super safe. Like what I was saying last week was I just don't see a crazy high ceiling for Godwin. He only had 1 touchdown on the year going into week 12, but last week he got everything. Like he got the volume, he got the receiving yards, and he got a touchdown, right? 13 targets, 12 receptions, 110 receiving yards, a touchdown, 29 fantasy points. So all of those, except for the targets and the touchdowns, which, I'll put it this way. Receiving yards, season high. Fantasy points, season high. Tied for a season high in terms of touchdowns. Tied for a season high in terms of volume. So coming off of his best game of the year, easily, he gets the Saints. Competitive matchup, gritty matchup. This is going to be a game where that volume is going to show up again, in my opinion. The Bucks are going to need to throw the football. So Brady to Godwin has been a thing all season long. We'll talk about Mike Evans in a couple moments here. All right, I got Chris Olave a little bit further back. I don't know. Olave is so tough to read on a weekly basis because it's really hard to guess when he's going to bring those higher ceilings and score touchdowns, right? But he's been extremely consistent. Your wide receiver 15 on the year gets the Bucks. It's a little bit of a tough matchup. Their secondary is not great, but in terms of wide receiver ones, they have been pretty good against wide receiver one so far in the year. 11.2 fantasy points in week 12, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 62 receiving yards. I like Olave. I would still start Olave, don't get me wrong, but I just see a little bit better game scripts, a little bit better matchups, and a little bit overall better performances so far on the year for the wide receivers ahead of him. So I still think Olave is a very good wide receiver too. To start this week, a very good flex option as well. But like I said, when we're looking at, purely looking at week 13 matchups and our week 13 rankings, we're looking at matchups and game scripts and things like that. All right, Keenan Allen's my wide receiver 20. He's got a very good opportunity against the Raiders here. This defense is awful. We talked about Metcalf and Lockett and how well they played last week. Keenan Allen could be impacted if Mike Williams comes back, but ultimately I'm not worried about Allen. His first 2 games back, 12.4 fantasy points and 15.9 fantasy points. At least 7 targets in both games, at least 49 receiving yards in both games, and a touchdown in one of the 2 games, right? So last week, he scored the touchdown at 49 receiving yards, 5 receptions off 7 targets. He's looked good since he's come back. He's a little bit better in PPR and everything, but against the Raiders, I would definitely consider starting Allen in all scoring formats, and we'll kind of continue to monitor Mike Williams' health throughout the week, see if that's going to affect anything as well. But ultimately, I think Allen's a very safe start as we approach week 13. All right, sip of water. We'll get through I'm just doing a top 30 for receivers this week. And then once we get through these receivers, 21 through 30, I will hop in the live chat and we'll talk some fantasy, man. That's all. I appreciate you guys being here, man. I appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat. I'm coming. I'm on my way, I promise. All right, Scary Terry is my wide receiver 21. Okay, I liked him a lot the last 2 weeks. I really did. I put a lot of faith in Scary Terry the last 2 weeks, especially after he had 20.8, a season-high fantasy point total against the Eagles in Week 10. He's disappointed us in the last 2 weeks. 9.6 against Houston in Week 11, 9.3 against Atlanta in Week 12. A.J. Terrell, like we just talked about, showed up in that game. So, listen, it's not the best matchup against the Giants, not the worst matchup against the Giants. Okay, so he gets a little bit further back because I would say that the Giants are definitely tougher than the Falcons so far in the year. But AJ Terrell's also been injured a lot, so it's kind of tough to read. Listen, I still like Scary Terry. He's your wide receiver 16 on the year. I mean, still had 48 or more receiving yards in his last 2 games. He hasn't really been a touchdown guy this year, just 2 touchdowns, but he's also had some changes at quarterback. So, listen, he just is a little bit further back because he's been disappointing in the last 2 weeks. But I still think you can definitely start Scary Terry as we approach the week. All right, I got Christian Watson pretty high here. It's a good matchup for Watson against the Bears. Okay, he's our wide receiver 22. He's been balling the last 3 weeks. Okay, a lot of rankings out there have him a lot lower, but this is the receiver that I want to start for the Packers right now. And I mean, I've loved Allen Lazard all season long, but we just can't deny what Christian Watson has been doing as of late. His last 3 games, 32.7, 21.1, then 21 last week against the Eagles. 110 receiving yards, a touchdown, and 4 receptions off of 6 targets last week, 21 fantasy points. So the Bears just got absolutely torched by the Jets. I love Christian Watson this week. He's probably my favorite flex option for you guys going in to the week. I think he's going to have a really, really good week at the end of the day. All right, I had to throw Mike Evans on here somewhere that was respectable. He's still your wide receiver 20 on the season. He just had a really bad week last week. The last 3 weeks have been a little bit down. 9 points in week 9, 10.4 in week 10, on bye week in week 11, and 5.1 in week 12. He gets the Saints this week. Listen, Mike Evans has actually gotten the better of Marshawn Lattimore in most of their matchups. It's a little bit of a rivalry, right? I mean, we know that he got suspended for week 3, starting the fight and everything with Lattimore in week 2. So, should be juicy, should be fun, but he's a little bit further back on the list because I don't even know if he's going to make it through this game. And also because he's been, in all seriousness, he's been a little bit of a slump lately, and I just feel like some of the other receivers ahead of him have some more upside. All right, wide receiver 24, who I actually wanted to put a little bit higher, but I just struggled to do so in terms of guys that were ahead of him, is Garrett Wilson of the Jets. Looked up phenomenal last week. I don't want to undermine what he did last week. He gets a good matchup against the Vikings this week. If Mike White can come out against the Vikings like he did last week against the Bears, I won't be surprised if Wilson finishes a lot higher on the rankings as the week ends, right? 26.4 points against the Chicago Bears, 8 targets, 5 receptions, 95 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns last week. Easily. Actually, that's only, believe it or not, don't forget in week 2, he had 30 fantasy points. So I was going to say easily his best performance of the year, but it's not. Week 2, he still had a better day. So he had 102 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 receptions in week 2 for 30 fantasy points. Very close stat lines, actually. But nonetheless, Wilson, we know that the potential has been there all season long. We got that slump, right? Then we hit a bad week in week 11. So there's been some inconsistency, but he's also had 3 quarterbacks now on the season. So he gets Minnesota, Buffalo, Detroit, Jacksonville, Seattle. Is a very favorable schedule to end the year. I think that Garrett Wilson's going to absolutely turn it up. Like I said, I wanted to put him higher on the list. I think he's going to have a really, really good week. All right, Zay Jones is my wide receiver 25, coming off of a 27.5 fantasy performance in week 12. 14 targets, 11 receptions, 145 receiving yards. He is questionable at the moment, but from what I've read, he should be good to go. It's just a good matchup against the Lions. Zay Jones is a beautiful flex as we approach the week. Speaking of beautiful flexes, I do like Devonta Smith a lot this week. We talked about A.J. Brown being super high on the list just due to the matchup, although he kind of has the edge in terms of going up against his former team. But Devonta Smith is dealing with a groin injury at the moment. From what I've read, he should be good to go. Listen, we know what Devonta Smith is. He's a boomer bust player, very, very up and down. But at the end of the day, it's a good matchup. If you own Smith, he's a beautiful flex as we approach the week. I got Josh Palmer on here. Keep in mind, like we talked about with Keenan Allen, the potential of Josh Palmer and Keenan Allen will be affected by Mike Williams if he's good to go this week. But it's a beautiful matchup against the Raiders. Even if Mike Williams is out there, Josh Palmer still should get some very good opportunities as we approach the week. So should Devonta Carter. DeAndre Carter, excuse me. This Raiders team is really bad. This is a game that the Chargers need to win. Both these defenses have been struggling, so I like Palmer this week. All right, we talked about Deontay Johnson. I still like Johnson this week, but Johnson's kind of the floor play. And on top of that, he should be facing A.J. Terrell for a majority of this game. So he gets a tougher matchup, but I still like the overall matchup for those looks he gets that don't involve A.J. Terrell. So Deontay Johnson, a safe flex play, but that's really about it for me. All right, Jacoby Myers comes in as my wide receiver 29. He gets the Bills this week. He is questionable at the moment for our Thursday night matchup tomorrow. But listen, outside the last 3 weeks, Jacoby Myers was extremely consistent this year. He's been playing kind of down as of late, but I think he definitely should get an opportunity to bounce back against the Bills in a really important matchup here for both of these teams. It's the first time that Buffalo and New England have played this year. Very, very competitive division here. All these teams have a chance to make the playoffs, technically speaking. So it's an important game. Should be competitive. Should be a game where Mac and Cheese needs to sling that football around. All right, Michael Pittman has been seeing very good volume in the last couple of weeks as the Colts continue to be in game scripts where they need to throw the football. He's got a tough matchup against the Cowboys, coming off of his third best fantasy performance of the year, against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. 19.1 fantasy points, 11 targets, 7 receptions, 61 receiving yards, and a touchdown. So, against the Cowboys, it's a bad matchup, but the volume has been really good, and the Colts are going to be playing from behind. They're going to need to throw the football. So, I like Pittman as we approach the week, and that'll do it. There's your top 30 wide receivers as we approach week 13 of the 2022 fantasy football season. So, thank you guys so much for hanging out, going through the wide receiver rankings as we approach the week. And let's hop into some fantasy Q&A. Let's do it, man. So I appreciate you guys being here, man. Hit that like button for me if you guys haven't done so already. And let's get into it. I'm going to scroll up a little bit in the chat here and try and get through things. Let me get... I got to crack open a new sparkling water. And let's get into it. And guys, I'm at the beach, so I've said this 100 times, but sorry for the awful setup. All right, let's get into it, man. Let's talk some fantasy. Let's have some fun, man. All right, let's see here. All right, just picked a random spot. Monique, would you start Watson, Devonta Smith, DJ Moore this week as a wide receiver too? I would start Watson. I think he's a great start. Yeah. Like, I just want him... until he shows us something else, I want Watson in our starting lineups. Easily. Devonta Smith is still a good option. We talked about him just a few moments ago, and I still like him as well. But ultimately, I gotta go Watson. Just the ceilings he's bringing lately have been absolutely crazy. And DJ Moore is on bye week as well, just so you know. So you can't start DJ Moore. But... ultimately, yeah, you got to go Watson here. Albert, what's up, bro? Great to have you. What's going on? What's up, Ibrahim? Deshaun Watson or Geno? I'd personally start Geno. I think that the Browns will run the football out. I'd rather have Geno in my lineup for the week, man. Let's see here. What's up, John? My wide receivers are Pittman, Lazard, and DPJ. I'm in a 10-man. Well... I would start Pittman and probably DPJ. Well, you could go Lazard here. I'll definitely start Pittman. I don't think he's going to have that bad of a week. Running backs are Saquon, Mixon, B-Rob, Gus, Pacheco, and Cordero. So you got very good running back depth. So you're definitely flexing a running back here. What's up, Santos? Glad to see you on tonight. What's up, bro? Need to JJ, DK, Wilson, or Kirk. Whew. I'd probably go JJ and DK. But you can go JJ and Kirk. Actually, I go JJ and Kirk. I mean, you really can't go wrong. You got to start JJ, of course. But like any of the other three could outscore each other. They're all going to have very good weeks. Very, very close there, man. Who are you leaning towards? What's up, Ron? Ron the GOAT in the house. What's up, man? Guys, if your questions were before I got to the chat, let me know, man. And you guys can put your questions back in the chat. I'll get to you. What's up, Zachary? Good to see you, bro. Having the same debate, should I start Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson? I'm going to recommend Trevor Lawrence. I want to see what happens with Watson first. I think that the Browns are going to run the football a ton. I really do. I think they're going to ease Watson back in. So I'll go with Trevor Lawrence in a really good matchup coming off of a very good game. What's up, Emil? Appreciate that, man. Let's go, Catch fam. Yeah, I can't believe I woke up to 3,000 subs today. So that was awesome, man. I appreciate you guys. I get Andrews. He gets a Olave. Good trade. My tight end is Gerald Everett. It's a good trade. It's a good trade, Lucas. Depends on what other receivers you've got, but I mean you're getting Andrews, so you're good to go. You're good to go. Let's see here. I traded Godwin and Pittman for CD. Still have DK Evans, so I was never starting Pittman. That's fine then. I mean, you got the wide receiver 7 on the year, so you're good to go. What's up, Ignatius? Pittman too low. He's coming off a very good game. I know, bro. I can't believe we did it. It's crazy, man. Alibaba with the $5 dono. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for the super chat. Let's go. Thank you so much, man. How crazy am I considering starting Rachaad White over Saquon? Redskins have only allowed one 100-yard rusher all year, and that was King Henry. I would not bench Saquon personally. Now, I think your logic's perfectly fine. I get what you're saying, 100%. But there are just certain players that I'm like, I would not bench them. I just wouldn't, straight up. Listen, I think Rachaad White is going to have a good game. Don't get me wrong. But I couldn't bench Saquon, dude. I couldn't do it. I really couldn't, regardless of matchup. He's got a little bit of a tough stretch here, but you look at it this way, right? Saquon played Tennessee in week 1. Very, very good run defense. 32.4 fantasy points for Barkley. He played Dallas in week 3, 22.6 fantasy points. A very good run defense. Played Baltimore in week 6. They weren't as good back at that point in the season as they are now, but still a good enough team. 18.5 fantasy points. Played Dallas in week 12 this past week, had 15.2 fantasy points. So, he's got a tough stretch here. Washington, Philadelphia, Washington. But I would start Barkley. I would, man. I could not bench him. I really, really couldn't. But I get what you're saying. The Commanders have played very well against the position. But I just couldn't do it, man. If you want to flex Rachaad White, I'm fine with that. But I just personally, I could not look at my lineup with Saquon on my bench and with the potential that he could bring. So, of course, trust your gut, man. Go with your own conviction here and everything. But I just couldn't do it. I'm a Barkley owner, and there's no way I'm benching him. No way. So, but I get what you're saying, man. It's a fair enough point. Just think of it this way, like, Barkley only has one game this year where he has not hit double-digit fantasy points, okay? And I was actually against the Detroit Lions, which is a very surprising performance. But the Lions have really stepped it up defensively as of late, comparatively to the beginning of their season. He literally, if you take away that Week 11 performance against the Lions, he has 11.8 or more fantasy points. If you take away Week 2 where he had 11.8 fantasy points, he has 15.2 or more fantasy points in every game this year. It's just, if you have one of those top 10 guys, really at any position, maybe other than quarterback, like, you just can't bench them. You really can't, man. That's the way I look at it. So, it's a good read, man. The Commanders have played very, very good against the run, especially as of late. But I'll also say this, man. Growing up as a Washington fan, they always let you down. They're going to do the opposite of what you think they're going to do. So, but hey, man, I appreciate the $5 dono. I really do, man. I appreciate you, bro. T-Law or Watson? I go T-Law personally. I go T-Law. I'm leaning Kirk after that McKenzie. After the game McKenzie had out of the slot on Turkey Day for sure, bro. I think Kirk's going to have a big game. We've got him pretty high on the rankings, so. I like that start. What's up, Spencer? How are you, man? How's it going? What up, what up? Great to have you in the house. Of course, Alibaba. I appreciate the dono too, man. Let me know if you need anything else on the night. Yeah, I would say Saquon is matchup proof for sure. I would say he's matchup proof for sure. Oh no, Spence, I hope you feel better, man. I know RSV is no good. Like, it's not fun at all, bro. Oh no, you can't even smoke. Oh no. Yeah, it's tough, man, because it takes a long time to recover from. For some people, like my coworker had it, but he has asthma, and I mean, like he was like having symptoms for like 2 or 3 months, you know. So just take your vitamins and rest, and yeah, you probably can't smoke, bro. I'm sorry, man. I hope it passes quickly for you, man. Start 2 PPR: Sutton, Watson, Burks, Scary Terry, Wilson. Good options here. I would have Watson and Garrett Wilson in my lineup. Yeah. I mean, Scary Terry's not a bad option here either, but like I say just go for the upside. Give me Garrett Wilson and Watson. You can consider Treylon Burks. But yeah, I gotta go Wilson and Watson. Give me the upside, man. Give me the upside. How do you feel about it? It's been 3 days and I already feel myself getting better. Let's go. Lost like 10 pounds. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, burn up all the Thanksgiving calories. Yeah, being sick will do that to you, bro. For sure. For sure. Yeah, man, I hate being sick. I'm really not looking forward to this. It's like cold, flu, RSV, COVID season we're about to get, man. I just hope I hope everyone stays healthy and no one gets sick. Other than Spencer's already sick. Spencer, I hope you get better soon, man. I hate being sick. You know, it just sucks. It does. Currently, I have Watson and Wilson in there. Let's go. Let's go. All right, guys. Let me know what you guys need, man. We'll get through some more fancy Q&A here. See how the night goes. It's pretty early. I know you guys aren't used to me streaming like as early as I have been, but we've been at the beach and the baby's been going to bed pretty early. Tonight she actually went to bed a little bit later, but the last 2 nights she's been out at like 7:30. So, all right, what's up, Ed? Need a big win this week. I can clinch a bye week. Let's go. We got Alan Lamb, Metcalf, Davis, Mike Williams, Everett, Hawkinson, JT, Mixon, White, Sanders, Dicker, Folk, Bills defense. Whew. All right, let's look at this. I think you got a lot of good players here. All right, you're starting Josh Allen, starting Lamb, starting Metcalf, starting Hawkinson, starting JT, Mixon if he's healthy, and then I'd flex Rachaad White. I like Miles Sanders this week, but I don't like him because he gets the Titans. He's just coming off a huge game. But it's a tough matchup for him. So, Josh Allen, Lamb, Metcalf, Hawkinson, JT, Mixon, and Rachaad White. If Mixon does not play, then move Rachaad White into your RB2 spot. And then you've got a ton of options. I mean, a ton of options for your flex. I'd probably lean Mike Williams if he's healthy. If he's not, then Miles Sanders or Gabe Davis. Complete toss-up there. I'd probably go Miles Sanders over Gabe Davis. Let me know if that made sense. We went in a lot of different directions at the end there. But I think you're in a really good spot. Then I would personally start Nick Folk. Bills defense is probably okay, but they have been kind of struggling as of late, banged up and everything. It's a short week. The Patriots have looked a little bit better as of late, so you can consider streaming the defense. But ultimately, man, I mean, your team is really good. Team's really, really good. So, all right, let's see. Browns or Ravens? Ooh, I like both. I like both. I'd probably go the Ravens. I'd probably stick with Baltimore. I don't know, man. The Texans looked really bad last week, though. I just don't know if I want to trust the. I don't know if I want to trust the Browns. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second here. My I don't know what's going on with. I usually just have Sleeper pulled up, so I can quickly pull up players' stats and everything. I don't know what order. I don't know what it's doing, but it's got Daniel Jones showing as my #1 player. It's not making any sense, and it's not letting me look at any defenses. Oh wow, what the heck? Listen, I like Baltimore a lot this week against the Broncos, though. But I kind of want to go the Browns. I really like the Ravens. They've been a team we've talked about a lot this week, but the more I think about it, the Texans just looked awful last week, man. I might go the Browns. Either option is fine. Lucas, I do like this trade for you, bro. Yeah. Let me check Spence. What we got here? All right, Spence. So, oh, you're the. My team is ass ETN season. Okay. So you've got Tua, Travis Etienne, Zamir Knight, or Zonovan Knight, excuse me. Devontae Adams, Lockett, Kelsey, Debo, Dallas's defense, Brett Meyer. I mean, your team looks good. Facing Mike White, Rashad White, Pollard, JJ, Metcalf, Komet, Cobb, Washington, and Myers. I still like your team more. Yeah, I think your flex options are a lot more solid, right? I guess you only have one flex option, but you're tight end and flex. Obviously, Kelsey's going to outperform Cole Kmet. And I would still take Debo, who's a little bit banged up, over Randall Cobb. Although Cobb gets the Chicago Bears and has been playing better as of late. But I do worry about Zonovan Knight if James Robinson plays in this matchup and everything. But, I mean, he's got JJ, he's got Rashad White, he's got Pollard. He's got some good plays here. Metcalf's going to have a good game, too, against Seattle. But I think overall your team's better. I mean, you got Dallas against the Colts. I might actually give the nod to his kicker, but I don't think that's going to make or break you, bro. So, I like your team more. Yeah. I mean, you have the advantage of tight end and flex. The player I worry about the most for you is Knight. Just because James Robinson, Tyler Johnson hanging around. But I think he'll be all right, bro. Team looks good to me, man. All right, let's see. What we got here? Daniel, I have San Francisco, but should I play the Packers, Seahawks, or Browns? I like the Seahawks a lot this week. I don't think you should drop the Niners per se, but I wouldn't start them against Miami. I would stream the Seahawks or Browns. Browns or Seahawks D. I would start the Seahawks. I had a league where I could have gone Browns over Seahawks for a stream, and I went with the Seahawks. I like them this week. What's up, B-dubs? I go Burks. Burks has a tough matchup, but I still think he's a good start. I'm going to go Ravens over Browns, like you said, but should I go Browns over Seahawks? No, I like the Seahawks a lot this week. I mean, what do the Rams have, right? It's a far more important game for the Seahawks than it is for the Rams, too. I go with the Seahawks. I'm starting them in the league, so. In flex, Mixon, but he sits. White or Davis. He plays tomorrow. Yeah, I would go Rashad White over Davis. I mean, if I'll go White. I live in Tampa. There you go. That's perfect. I just think you get that huge volatility out of Gabe Davis on an important week for you, man. And he's got a tough matchup too. Yeah, don't drop San Francisco. Yeah. Hold on to them. Spence in that league. Follow up question: pick RB2 in a flex. Oh, you got Lockett? Lockett should be in your lineup, bro. Wait. Was Lockett in your lineup when I looked at it? Hold on. Wait. Oh, here we go. Oh, he was. Okay. Yeah, Lockett stays in your lineup. So you got Adams and Lockett. But you need an RB2 and a flex. Okay. I would flex Debo, but if he does not play, then flex Treylon Burks. Yeah. Burks or Debo. Debo, pay attention to that's on the bottom of the chat. He is dummy. I swear, guys, my brain just doesn't work anymore. I don't know what's happening to me. Running back's tough here, man. I want to say Gus Edwards, but like I just think his ceiling's super low, man. He gets the Broncos. Just that game just feels ugly. The Ravens' offense looked bad lately. The Broncos and the Ravens' defense, for that matter, are both playing really good. I hate that game script, man. But I might go Gus here. Zonovan's fine, but like I really worry about Zonovan. I do. I'm not confident in him. James, we got it. Like, do we have an update on James Robinson? I'm gonna check. I don't know what Sleeper is doing, dude. I must have hit like a something. It's showing like the worst possible players first. Okay, we don't have any update on James Robinson. Did I hit like ADP? Like show the opposite? I don't know. Anyways, I can just search names. That's fine. Yeah, I see the bottom of the chat. Kyron is interesting too. Yeah, I see Nick coming in saying that Mike Carter is day to day too. So I just worry about Zonovan, bro. And Ty Johnson looked good last week too. So it's tough, bro. And AJ Dillon looked good last week, and he gets the Bears. So this one's all over the place, Spence. But I'll say this much: I feel a little bit more confident in Dillon, Gus, or Kyron over Zonovan. But like obviously, it's not a good situation no matter what. Your flex situation, you're fine. Like you just go Debo if he's healthy, and if not, go Burks. And I think there could be an argument if Burks wasn't in such a bad matchup against the Eagles that you could just go Burks over Debo if you were worried about potential injury, Like last week, Debo kind of screwed us, right? It's tough at the RB2, man. It's tough. I might just go Gus there. How do you feel about it, man? We'll keep thinking about it. Tyler Conklin or Foster Moreau? I'd probably go Foster Moreau. But I like Conklin too. I think they're both really good streaming options. Yeah. Foster Moreau coming off of his second best fantasy performance of the year, found the end zone last week. And the Chargers have not played well against the position. I see that game getting a little dicey. Seeing some offensive points scored and everything. So I'd probably go Foster Moreau. But it's close. I think Tyler Conklin is a good option too. Better play this week, Dolchich or Johnson. They're both. I go Jawan Johnson. I know he's coming off a bad game, but I'll go Jawan Johnson. I don't trust. I don't trust Greggy D anymore. Conklin or Everett. I'd probably go Everett here, but it's close. Once again, like it's really tough. Like 3 questions in a row, right? Like we've got a really close tier of tight ends, right? Dolchich, Juwan Johnson, Conklin, Everett. Like there's so much volatility within that particular tier of tight ends. There's really so much volatility at the position on a weekly basis that like it's really the toughest position to call. Like if it's not Travis Kelce, if it's not T.J. Hawkinson, like if it's not Mark Andrews, with all the injuries to the position between Ertz, Goddard, Kyle Pitts going down, who I didn't really like Kyle Pitts, but regardless, you guys get what I'm saying. Like we've just lost so many guys who we could actually trust. And then it's like Tyler Higbee's been a little banged up, then he loses Stafford. Like it's just been a tough. It's always a tough year at the tight end position, but this year has been like particularly more difficult. So it's really hard to get a read on those guys. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's see. But yeah, I'd probably go Everett there. Would you start Christian Watson or Walker in the flex? Other running backs are Henry, Mixon. Wide receivers are Higgins and Brown. Okay, this is a tough one. Ooh, I like Watson a lot this week. Watson against the Bears just feels right. But I don't really particularly want to bench Kenneth Walker. You're in a better, almost like an easier position if Joe Mixon doesn't play, because then you just start Walker over Mixon. And you flex Watson. So it's super close, man. I actually see a pretty similar floor and ceiling for both Watson and Walker. It's pretty close here. I really like Watson this week. Chat, who would you guys start? What do you guys think? Would you go Christian Watson or Kenneth Walker? It's very, very close. Yeah, Spence, I do like Kyron. I think he's a pretty solid option. Yeah, Nick, I appreciate you bringing that up, man. Yeah, Michael Carter also day-to-day. So I'm just really wary of that Jets backfield being an option. To get Seattle's defense, got to drop Warren that I just picked up. You know, speaking of backfields that I'm worried about, I am worried about the Steelers backfield as well. Because you got Benny Snell, you got Warren, Najee Harris could potentially play as well. Like it's just a mess. And we got what's his name? I can't remember the other running back's name who played last week, who didn't look bad to save my life. But let's see here. Najee Harris did not practice today. Jaylen Warren still has a hamstring injury. So you got Benny Snell. And then you've got, oh my gosh. What is the other running back's freaking name? Is it McFarland? I can't remember his name. But he got touches too. So I just worry about some of these backfields where we're trying to get a true, like, late round running back. Late season running back, late waiver wire addition. So if you want to go pick up Seattle, I don't think it's going to ultimately kill you, man. But Jaylen Warren is still worth holding on to potentially, just for pure handcuff. But at the same time, like we just talked about, there's a lot of running backs involved here. Any updates on Fournette? I'll check for you, bro. I haven't seen anything, but we'll double check. Still questionable at the moment. Yeah, nothing new on Fournette, unfortunately. And what, they play Monday night, right? So it's like they're going to probably hold out that information as long as they can. Yeah. They don't want the Saints to know if Fournette's going to play. My long shot play is Tevin Coleman this week. Oh, Tevin Coleman. Always sneaks back in, right? I don't hate it, man. He had 21.7 points in week 5. Dude, I think I had to start him in the league in week 6. I did. In the Catch Fam League. I was like, I don't remember exactly what happened, but it came down to I had to pick someone off the waiver, and they played Atlanta. It was a good matchup. He was coming off a 21-point performance game, so yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't know because Jordan Mason's hanging around. I mean, who knows what the Niners are going to do? But yeah, you got Eli Mitchell hurt. Then you got Christian McCaffrey not practicing at the moment as well. So it's not the craziest thing I've heard. Herbie or Lawrence this week? Herbert for sure. Herbert for sure. Not even close for me. Yeah, I feel that, Spence. In my double quarterback league, I have James Conner on bye. And I actually just went from Akers to Kyron Williams, and then realized Brian Robinson was available, and I picked him up in a heartbeat. Not that I think he's consistent, but it just feels like a better start. Should I get Goddard? Yes. So we just went over talking about White, but yeah, you should get Goddard for sure, bro. What's up, Nick? If you're gonna make, I guess I should say it this way: if you're going for a playoff push, yeah. And I guess we haven't talked about Zamir White. We've talked about Zonovan Knight. I'm sorry. So Josh Jacobs continuing to not practice. Should we pick up Zamir White? Maybe. Play him for what, 1 week? Maybe. So the Chargers are a bad enough run defense that you can go pick up a player like White, but keep in mind, after that, we got the Rams, New England, Pittsburgh, San Francisco. Not the most favorable schedule for the Raiders running backs, but you're starting Josh Jacobs if he's healthy. But yeah, I mean, the Chargers are bad enough against the running back position that you can do so. But at the same time, do we know that White's going to be the main guy? We don't. But so you're kind of taking a gamble, right? That's all I'm saying. What can we as fans do to make the NFL tight end position great again? Well, I don't think it's not great. I just think that it doesn't have a ton of fantasy value. I mean, it does in a traditional fantasy roster format and everything, but like it just doesn't. You don't have as many players who come out and give you as many fantasy points from the position is all. If James Robinson's a scratch again, Donovan looked great. Kyron plays an awful defense. Dylan plays awful defense. But he's the backup. And Gus is the best against... yeah. That's a tough one, bro. I don't think it's going to, like, make or break. I mean, the rest of your roster looks good, bro. What's up? It's Blue. Garrett Wilson or Miles Sanders? I go Wilson. I like Sanders a lot, but he gets a tough matchup against the Titans. So, give me Wilson. Bills defense or Chargers? I'd still go Bills. I would not start the Chargers. Would not start the Chargers. Is Deontay Johnson droppable? He is droppable. But the Steelers have a very favorable strength of schedule for the receiver position coming up. So I'll say that much. He is droppable, and he's a floor play. Like, there's no upside. Pickens is the upside play. So... McKenzie's not going to bring you any consistency, though. You got to keep that in mind. So just keep that in mind if you go after McKenzie. DPJ's fine, but we don't exactly know what the chemistry with Watson looks like. Deshaun revenge game or Geno against the Rams? I go Geno, personally. Did I mess up taking Seahawks over Bucks? No, I wouldn't say so. The Bucks are going to have a good week, but I'd rather have the Seahawks right now. Better stream, in my opinion. Pick one, Carr, Watson, Fields. Fields if he's healthy. If not, I go Carr. That's a good point, Spence. I go Kenneth Walker over Watson because the Rams have no Donald. That's a really good point. I don't mind that call. Carr, Watson, Fields rest season. Fields, if he's healthy, regardless of the bye week coming up and some tough matchups, still Fields. Then I want to say Watson, but I mean, Carr's been playing better as of late. His last month, he's been playing just fine. It's kind of tied with Carr and Watson, though, because we don't really know what to expect out of Watson. I'll say Watson holds more upside, though. Holding on to two defenses, Ravens and Kansas City. You can just play the Ravens if you need an extra player. You can just play the Ravens, bro. Herbert or Fields? This week I'd probably go Herbie. Give me Herbie fully loaded. Good matchup for him. I do believe Zay Jones is going to have another good game, bro. I like Jones this week. What's up, Kevin? Pick 2, full PPR. Cooks, Pickens, Wilson, Pacheco, Rashad White, A.J. Dillon. Rashad White and Pickens. Ooh, I don't want to be too down on Jeff Wilson, though, but I'd probably start Rashad White and Pickens. You could go Jeff Wilson, though. I like Pickens a lot this week. But Wilson's got a tough matchup. You can play Deshaun over Brady. That's fine. Where's Waddle ranked? He's ranked number 10. Sorry, the chat keeps covering it. Yeah, we kind of talked about it. It's a tougher matchup for Waddle. And I love Waddle this week, man. Like, you don't sit Waddle no matter what. But I just think, like, Amon-Ra St. Brown against the Jags, Christian Kirk against the Lions, Higgins and Chase against the Chiefs, A.J. Brown against his former team who has an awful secondary. Like, there's some really good opportunities there. So a little bit lower, but he's balling, man. I dropped Mostert for White. I own Wilson, so it was I probably would have, personally, held on to Mostert just to lock up that backfield since they're tied to the more consistent offense. I like Zonovan because he catches passes out the backfield. For sure, man. He looked great last week. Don't get me wrong. I just worry about... Like, we know the Jets are going to use the running back position and run the football and everything. But we got a lot of... There's some potential here for some disappointment with how many different running backs could be utilized. Is Fields out? No, but he's still questionable. I believe he practiced today in limited capacity, though. So that's gives you some hope. Do you drop Pirine? No, I wouldn't drop Pirine. Let's see, like, if he gets involvement with Mixon healthy. And even if he doesn't, we obviously know he's a very valuable handcuff. So I wouldn't drop him just yet. Kenny Pickett and Pickens are two great football names. Oh, I know, man. Pickett to Pickens. Let's go. Let's go. Gus Edwards or Sanders. Yeah. I go Sanders, tied to the better offense. Team I'm playing against to clinch is Mahomes, Debo, Godwin, Henry, Saquon, Hurst, Baltimore defense, and Tucker. You never know, Ed. You never know. Debo's a little banged up. Henry, Saquon, and Mahomes is scary, though. And he's got Tucker. Oh. You never know, bro. You got a shot for sure. Would you go Terry or Devonta? Terry for a floor, Devonta Smith for upside, but more risk. Geno or Fields if he plays. It's close. Ooh, it's close. Fields. What's good, Prey? Alex, pick 3. Stevenson, Pacheco, Gus, Pierce, Etienne, Rashad White, Cook. Standard league. Must win. All right, let's see. You got to start Stevenson. Don't bench Stevenson. You got to start Cook. Not the best matchup for Cook. You gotta go Cook. And I go Rashad White. Unless we get word that Etienne's good to go, then you can start Etienne. And I do like Pierce this week. I think Pierce is kind of being overlooked. I think Pierce is going to have a good week. I think he's going to bounce back against the Browns. It's tough there, man. But you got to start Stevenson and Cook. You got to, man. How do you feel about it? Loki, I want to drop Sutton only because I'm tired of him occupying my bench space. Hey, man, you kind of get to that point here at the end of the season where you can make those moves. Like, if you're not going to start a player, like if you are never going to start a player, whether it's Cortland Sutton or Deontay Johnson or whoever, you can drop them, man. You got to start forming your playoff roster, you know? Catch, I made a must-start tight end list. I put Kelsey on it, and now I have people flaming me. What? You should start Kelsey. This is like, I think this is just a game day replica. I don't know. I just went on NFL Shop and ordered the first black Lamar jersey I saw. David, I'm desperate at running back. My best is White. I have Swift, who I finally benched. Patterson, Hunt. Picked up Abdullah, who I thought would be a good play if Jacobs is out or limited. That's fine, man. But now I'm seeing that Zamir White will likely be next in line, but I don't get why when he's done nothing all season. Abdullah put up 14.5 PPR, even the game that Jacobs had. Yeah. Zamir White has gained like the PPR upside. Or excuse me, Abdullah has had that PPR upside, where Zamir White would probably be like your kind of every down back. So either of them could have good value, and it could end up being Zamir White. So and it could end up being Abdullah. So it's tough to say, man. But ultimately, you can probably go. I mean, Hunt's got a really good matchup here, and you should start Patterson. You could go Swift. But we'll just have to see what happens with Jacobs, bro. But I don't think you had the wrong mindset there at all. Should I drop CPAT for Dobbins? No, I would keep Patterson, personally. Crazy that overnight Russ has become one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. I think some future star sacrificed Russell's career in order for them to succeed. If Jared McKinnon doesn't play, would you play Pacheco or White? I'd probably still play White, but Pacheco's okay. I'd say if Cook can play the dislocated shoulder running back, thinking Fields can hold his own. That's a good point, man. Yeah, I don't know how much Melvin Gordon is going to impact Pacheco. We got to keep an eye on it, though. Washington or Miami? Close. Very close. Miami's upcoming schedule is very favorable, but I think Washington's the better defense, arguably, from a fantasy perspective, I guess. I'd probably go. I don't trust Washington, so I'll go with Miami. What's up, Mackie? Start 2 RB, start 2 wide receivers, and flex one of those guys. We got Debo, Waddle, Evans, Zay, Monty, Pollard, Zeke, Stevenson, Walker. Okay. 2 running backs, Walker and Stevenson. Start Waddle. Start Debo if he's healthy. If not, start Mike Evans. The flex is tough, man. Because I like Zay Jones, I like Monty, I like Pollard. I like Zeke for that matter too. You could flex any of those guys, man. I don't think it was that long ago, bro. Thoughts on Mike White? I think you can start Mike White this week if you're desperate, for sure. I mean, Minnesota just made Mac Jones look good. So, what's up, Richie? Keep going back and forth with Lamar and Mike White. That is a tough one. I mean, you just have to understand, if you sit Lamar, he could go off. That's what he does. He could go off. But it's an awful matchup. I think that game looks so ugly, man. I might just go Mike White. Any chances Jimmy G outscores Geno in a high-scoring game? I would lean Geno here. I'd lean Geno. But it's possible. Not the worst call, but I go Geno. Started Mike White in my 16-team league and he looked out for me. Let's go. I got you, Prey. Jets beat the Vikings 23-21. Hey, let's go. I'm rooting for the Jets right now. I regret not drafting Kelsey over Javonte Williams. I regret Not drafting Kelsey #1 overall. Not really. I picked Eckler. Like, he's RB1. Like, but whatever. Oh, if you want a New Jersey, they're like 30% off. Let's go. Let's go. Pray, you're a TikToker now? That's what's up, bro. Pray's on TikTok. All right, I caught up to the chat. Let's go, man. Let's go. Let's go. All right, guys, I'm probably going to start winding it down. We got through our wide receiver rankings. We got through some good fantasy Q&A. So we'll probably start winding it down. I will be on tomorrow night. I'm gonna try. I got to get up early tomorrow. So I'll be on tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time with Steven. Steven will be on tomorrow. So be a good stream. We'll stream for an hour before Thursday night kickoff. Have plenty of time to get you guys' roster right. And Thursday night football questions tomorrow. Gonna be fun. Gonna be a good time. So once again, guys, I know that the quality of the streams and content and everything this week has been awful. While I'm streaming from the beach, and it's been all over the place. So I just want to say thank you guys for sticking it out with me again, and hanging out, and still supporting the channel while I'm streaming from the beach and doing content from the beach and everything. I know it's been not what you guys are used to, and I'll be home in a couple days, so we'll get back to regular content, everything, and regular streams. So I appreciate you guys, man. I really do, and thank you guys so much for 3,000 subs. Crazy, man. So I appreciate you guys. Just want to make sure you guys know that. Done with Swift, considering Patterson, but he's also been a bust, and then Las Vegas backs a better matchup. Would you start Pat or Hunt over DPJ with Watson coming back? I still like Patterson this week. I mean, the Steelers haven't played phenomenal, and Patterson's looked pretty good outside of that game against Carolina. So the last 4 weeks, if you take away that game against Carolina and Thursday Night Football rain game, he's had like 10 or more fantasy points. So I go Patterson, but DPJ is fine too. I manage a health food store, a local health food store in my area, Nick. And I do YouTube. But mainly, yeah. Mainly just running things at the nature's outlet. All right, let's see here. If Mike Williams doesn't play, is George Pickens a solid? Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could consider Pickens over Mike Williams. Pickens has a great, a beautiful matchup. So for sure. Bro, Pray, you got to rock that jersey, man. You got to rock those jerseys. But they are kind of nice to wear around the house. Hey, I'm glad to be here, Santos. So appreciate that, man. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and... Oh, dude, I want to frame some jerseys. When I win this jersey from the Catch Fam League, let's go. Shout out to Nature's Outlet. Let's go. Praise benching 200. I love the way the streams end, where I just never stop. What's up, Bully? Mike White, Cam Akers, Kareem Hunt, Julio Jones, Slayton Gallup, tight end is Disley. Is your whole team just waiver wire options? I feel like you're messing with me. It's a great waiver. Oh, in a 50-man league. Dude, if that was really a 50-man league, then your team's not bad, honestly. Pray, there's only 5 Nature's Outlet. They're all local to my area. We're a small local business. Do you like Zonovan, Jalen Warren, or Gibson? Personally, I go Gibson. I'm going to go Gibson. Pray, if you really wanted to come... if you really want to come say what's up, I just tell you which store I work at, bro. Would like to join one of your leagues if you happen to share with your followers. Yeah, so we ran a 4-league tournament this year, and we'll run one again next year. It might be bigger than this past year. It probably will be. So we'll get you in there for sure, man. I gave out details like starting in June or July. Yeah, I figured, Bully. I haven't played Madden. I haven't played the new Madden at all. But in the off season, I'll be playing Madden on the streams for sure. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Spence, I haven't decided yet. I can't even think past, like, I can't think that far ahead, but I'm considering it all, Spence. Everything is in consideration for sure. So, all right, guys, that does it. Love you guys, man. Love this community. Love the catch, fam. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for all the fantasy questions. Thank you guys for 3,000 subs. Thank you guys for hanging out in these awful streams this week while I stream from the beach. And that'll do it, man. You can drop Higby if you have better options out there. Conklin versus Higby is very close, but I'm starting to have like no doubt in the Rams. Pray, I'm just trying to make the stream go. Stop. Because you know I'll keep reading them. Alright, that does it, guys. Hit the sub button if you're new. Check out the links down below. Smash the like button. I'll be on with Steven tomorrow. Appreciate you guys, man. Love you guys. Everyone have a great night. Everyone be safe. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, alright? With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch. And peace.